Once you open InDesign, you'll notice that you should have here open a recent item, and that was the one that we did for learning text. Go ahead and open that. And the first thing that we want to do is we actually want to do a save as and save this as a different file type, or not type, different file name, so that we can add to it. So we're going to do file save as. It's still going to have your period number underscore your last name underscore. Instead of the word text, however, we're going to put in editing, because we're going to talk about editing a file. I'm going to click Save. Now, we're going to start by needing our Pages panel. And it's usually open from the beginning when you open your program. However, if you don't see it, remember you can go up here to the Window menu. Now, your Pages panel is broken down into two parts. Up at the top, we have what is called our master pages. And the closest thing that I can compare this to that you have learned so far is using a Dreamweaver template. You remember on the template how we set up our layout? We defined like where the banner would be, where the navigation would be, and all that stuff. Well, that's kind of what you think of with your master page. Things that you want to repeat throughout your newsletter or article or whatever, such as page numbers or a specific background color or whatever, that would get set up in your A master so that you don't have to do it on every single page. And when I say a master, you have the ability to create more than one master. That's just the first one, okay? Then down here we have the actual pages. The actual pages are what you have put actual content on. So you can see a little thumbnail of this page right here. We want to add pages. So we can click right here. We can come up here and choose Insert New Pages. There's other options that we have for other things that we're not going to do right now. But I'm going to go ahead and click on the Insert, and I'm going to insert, I think, 4 more pages. So that's actually a single page and then 2 spreads. Remember, a spread is when you have a left and a right page facing each other. Okay, so that's what these are. You can see the page numbers down here, and whatever you have clicked on, that's what's showing. Notice that by clicking on page 2, it will show you mostly page 2. If you kind of click on the whole spread, the numbers here, you get the entire spread, both pages. Or if you just want page 3, that's where it is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to look at the whole spread for now. And what I want to do is I actually want to go ahead and put in my columns of text on both the new spreads. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and use my type tool, and I'm going to start up here at the top left margin and bring it down, and then I will start again, and I will do this in each column. So that's going to wind up being 4 columns, 4 text boxes on that spread. I can actually see here in the thumbnail the outline of the text boxes. Now I'm going to go to pages 4 and 5, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'll start right up here. Because I'm using my margins to help lay it out, I'm pretty confident that my text boxes are all the same size and aligned where they need be. However, it is something that we can and probably should check before we were actually going to publish anything. I'm going to go back to page 2 and 3 and get my black arrow or my selection tool. There is a file in Poland Pickup. It is called Lorem Ipsum 3 pages. Now, I put the one that we did in the last exercise about text. What is Lorem Ipsum? If you read through that at all, that's a description of what Lorem Ipsum is. And we do use it for when we're creating pages and we don't necessarily have the content yet, but we want our client to see what the layout would look like. I also want you to see, because you don't have to have a placeholder, or sorry, not a placeholder, you don't have to have a file to place text, because you also have here under the type menu, notice down here where it says fill with placeholder text. Okay, and if I zoom in, you can see that it's basically Lorem Ipsum as well. Okay, and let me go back to my full spread here. And you can do that one column at a time. It just fills the space. Okay, so I'm going to Command Z and undo that. So once you get that deleted, we're going to select that column again, that text box, and I'm going to go to File and Place, and you should have copied to your folder in Schools this file, Lorem Ipsum 3 pages, and this is just basically 3 pages of dummy text that I've copied from the Lorem Ipsum website, and you see that it's broken down into paragraphs. I like the paragraphs better than the placeholder text here just because it looks a little bit more realistic as far as if you were going to show these files to a client. Again, down here at the bottom we have our overset marker, this little red X showing us we have more text than space. I'm going to click on it. It's going to load my cursor so I can click. Then there's more. Click again, more, click again, and you can see that there's still more. So at this point I can go to page 4 and 5, and that's where it stops, is right there on page 4. Okay, so it filled 2 full pages and part of a third. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to pages 2 and 3. And if you recall, when I formatted the type in the first, remember that I left it as Times, regular, and I put I left the font at 12 point. What I'm going to do so that I can make this a little more uniform is I'm going to, first off, I'm leaving the font at 12. Okay. However, I want to make the line spacing a little bit bigger. So I'm going to type in, instead of 14.4 point, I'm going to make it 15 point. Okay, so you can see it spaces it out a little bit. Now, when I spaced it out a little bit more, I now have this overset text. Okay, so that means that this doesn't know where it's going to go. And if I click on that red X, it loads my cursor. And then if I go to page 2 and 3, if I click up here, I just want you to realize that what it does is it went ahead and filled the, whoops, I'm scrolling the wrong way, filled the place, it finished it up here, and then here is where this second page actually finished. So I can hit enter a couple of times. You can see how all of the paragraphs shift down when I did that. Okay, this text here is a different font than this text. This second batch that we imported is Arial 11 point, whereas this was Times 12 point with a line spacing of 15. So now we have to figure out, or not figure out, but select all the rest of it so that we can format the font so it's all the same. So I'm going to put in times, and here I'm going to keep it regular. Oops, what happened to all my text? I think I accidentally pressed a button and deleted it. I didn't mean to. Regular, there we go. The size is going to be 12 point. And oops, oh, I know, when I hit tab. Up here, evidently hitting tab does not go to the next box, and that's where I was making a mistake. And 15 point there. So now all of my text has been uniformly changed so that it all matches. And now down here on my last column, because I changed and formatted the text, I now have a little bit more of overset that I'm going to finish in this column. Okay, so there I started doing some editing. I've added pages, I've added text, and now I'm going to go back to page 1 because I want to do a little bit of formatting as far as the look of it goes. And I'm going to start off by doing it with my first text that I put in, which was my title or heading. So what I want to do is, first off, remember that when we choose colors, we have two things we have to look at: the container or the text. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the container. So my container is selected, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my color panel. And remember that when we're choosing color for desktop publishing, we want to use the CMYK mode, because that is how printers print, is with this mode: cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Okay, so I'm going to click on that. Now, remember that the solid box is for the fill color. So if that's selected, we can either choose a color from here on the spectrum. We can even use our swatches down here. It's up to you. So I'm choosing a dark green for my fill. And that is a pretty dark green. Okay. And then I'm going to click on the stroke. And I want to choose a green, but I want it to be a lighter green. Do notice that when I use my little rainbow down here, the further down I go, the darker it becomes. The higher I go, the lighter it becomes. Okay, so now I have a dark fill, and maybe I even make it darker. There we go. And then a light stroke. Now, next thing I'm going to do, because if you look, you can't really see a stroke, and that's because the stroke is so light and so small. So if I go to my stroke panel, notice that I can change the weight of it. The weight is simply, oops, I'd have to select it first. The weight is simply the thickness. So see how now it has a weight. I want you to also notice that I can change the type. So there are different types of strokes that you can put on. I want you to choose the wavy stroke. Oh, you have to select it again though, ding dong. There we go. Now it has a wavy stroke. Go ahead and select it again. I keep deselecting it because it's hard to see it when it's not selected. So here I just did thick, thin, thick. That's the one I'm going to stick with. Okay, and the best way for you to see it is if you go to View, Overprint Preview, and that shows it without stuff interfering.